Hi, Grandma, and I am reading chapter 11, Nantucket, the second part. Dad had promised before we came to Nantucket that there would be no formal studying, no language records, and no school books. He kept his promise, though we found he was always teaching us things informally when our backs were turned. For instance, there was the matter of the Morse code. "I have a way to teach you the code without any studying," he announced one day at lunch. We said we didn't want to learn the code, that we didn't want to learn anything until school started in the fall. "There's no studying," said Dad, "and the ones who learn it first will get rewards. The ones who don't learn it are going to wish they had." After lunch, he got a small paintbrush and a can of black enamel and locked himself in the lavatory, where he painted the alphabet in code on the wall. For the next 3 days, Dad was busy with a paintbrush writing code over the whitewash in every room in the shoe. That's the cottage. On the ceiling in the dormitory bedrooms, he wrote the alphabet together with key words whose accents were a reminder of the code for the various letters. It went like this: A dot dash A bout, B dash dot 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 boisterously, C dash dot dash dot careless children, D dash dot dot dangerous, etc. When you lay on your bed dozing, the words kept going through your head and you'd find yourself saying, "dangerous dash dot dot dangerous." He painted secret messages in code on the walls in the front porch and the dining room. "What do they say, Daddy?" we asked him. "Many things," he replied mysteriously. "Many secret things and many things of great humor." We went into the bedrooms and copied the code alphabet on a piece of paper. He went right on painting as if he were paying no attention to us, but he didn't miss a word. "Lord, what awful puns," said Anne. "And this, I presume, is meant to fit into the category of things of great humor? Listen to this one. Be it ever so bumble, there's no place like comb." "And we're stung," Ern moaned. "We're not going to be satisfied until we translate them all. I see dash dot, and I hear myself repeating, careless children. What's this one say?" We figured it out. "When ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be white." I don't know what that means myself. And another by courtesy of Mr. Irvin S. Cobb, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you may diet." And still another, which Mother made Dad paint out, "Two maggots were fighting in dead earnest." "That one is Eskimo," said Mother. "I won't have it in my dining room, even in Morse code." "All right, boss," Dad grinned sheepishly. "I'll paint over it. It's already served its purpose anyway." Every day or so after that, Dad would leave a piece of paper containing a Morse code message on the dining room table. Translated, it might read something like this: "The first one who figures out the secret message should look in the right-hand pocket of my linen knickers hanging on the hook in my room, Daddy." Or, "Hurry up before someone beats you to it and look in the bottom left drawer of the sewing machine." In the knickers pocket and in the drawer would be some sort of reward: a Hershey bar, a quarter, a receipt entitling the bearer to one chocolate ice cream soda at Coffin's drugstore, payable by Dad on demand. Some of the Morse code notes were false alarms. "Hello, live bait. This one is on the house. No reward. But there may be a reward next time. When you finish reading this, dash off like mad so the next fellow will think you are on some hot clue. Then he'll read it too, and you won't be the only one who got fooled. Daddy." As Dad had planned, we all knew the Morse code fairly well within a few weeks. Well enough, in fact, so that we could tap out messages to each other by bouncing the tip of a fork on the butter plate. When a dozen or so persons all attempting to broadcast in this manner, all of us preferred sending to receiving, the accumulation is loud and nerve-shattering. A present-day equivalent might be reproduced if the sound effects men on Gangbusters and Walter Winchell went should go over to their air stimulus simultaneously before a battery of powerful amplifiers. The wall writing worked so well in teaching us the code that Dad decided to use the same system to teach us astronomy. His first step was to capture our interest, and he did this by fashioning a telescope from a camera tripod and a pair of binoculars. He'd tote the contraption out into the yard on clear nights, look at the stars while apparently ignoring us. We'd gather around and nudge him and pull at his clothes, demanding that he let us look through the telescope. "Oh, don't bother me," he'd say with his nose stuck in the glasses. "Oh my golly, I believe those two stars are going to collide." "Whew, no, awfully close though. Now I've got to see what that old beetle's up to. What a star, what a star." "Daddy, give us a turn," we insist. "Don't be a pig." Finally, with assumed reluctance, he agreed to let us look through the glasses. We could see the ring on Saturn, 3 moons on Jupiter, and the craters on our own moon. Dad's favorite star was Betelgeuse, the yellow-red old beetle in the Orion constellation. He took a personal interest in her because his friends were collaborating in experiments to measure her diameter by Michael's interferometer. I don't know what that is either. Sometimes you'll read in a book that things that you have to look up, but sometimes it's just not worth it. You just read over it. When he finally was convinced to get interested us in astronomy, Dad started a new series of wall paintings dealing with stars. On one wall, he made a scale drawing of the major planets, ranging from little Mercury, represented by a circle about as big as a marble, to Jupiter as big as a basketball. On another, he showed the planets in relation to their distance from the sun, with Mercury the closest and Neptune the furthest away, almost in the kitchen. Pluto still hadn't been discovered, which was just as well because there really wasn't room for it. Dr. Harlow Shapley of Harvard gave Dad 100 or more photographs of stars, nebula, and solar eclipses. Dad hung these on the wall near the floor. He explained that if they were up any higher at the conventional level for pictures, the smaller children wouldn't be able to see them. There was still some wall space left, and Dad had more than enough ideas to fill it. He tacked up a piece of cross-section graph paper, which was 1,000 lines long and 1,000 lines wide, and thus contained exactly 1,000,000 little squares. "You hear people talk a lot about 1,000,000, he said, but not many people have actually seen 1,000,000 things at the same time. If a man has $1,000,000, he has exactly as many dollars as there are little squares on this chart." "Do you have $1,000,000, Daddy?" Bill asked. "No," said Daddy a little ruefully. "I have 1,000,000 children instead. Somewhere along the line, a man has to choose between the two." He painted diagrams in the dining room showing the difference between meters and feet, kilograms and pounds, liters and quarts. And he painted 17 mysterious-looking symbols representing each of the Thurbligs on a wall near the front door. And I hope you don't go looking up Thurbligs, because he is going to explain what that means. The Thurbligs were discovered, or maybe a better word would be diagnosed, by Dad and Mother. Everybody has 17 of them, they said, and the Thurbligs can be used in such a way as to make life difficult or easy for their possessor. A lazy man, Dad believed, always made the best use of the Thurbligs because he is too indolent to waste motions, lazy. Whenever Dad started to do a new motion study project at a factory, he'd always begin by announcing he wanted to photograph the motions of the laziest man on the job. "The kind of fellow I want," he'd say, "is a fellow who is so lazy he won't even scratch himself. You must have one of those around someplace. Every factory has them." Dad named them Thurbligs for himself. Gilbreth, spelled backwards with a slight variation. They were the basic theorems of this business and resulted indirectly in such things as foot levers to open garbage cans, special chairs for factory workers, redesign of typewriters, and some aspects of the assembly line technique. Well, I certainly enjoy the pedal on the garbage can. Using therbligs, Dad had shown Regal Shoe Company clerks how they could take a customer's shoe off in 7 seconds and put it back on again and lace it up in 22 seconds. Actually, a therblig is a unit of motion or thought. Sometimes a man goes into the bathroom to shave. We'll assume that his face is all lathered and he's ready to pick up the razor. He knows where the razor is, but first he must locate it with his eye. That is search, the first therblig. His eye finds it and comes to rest. That's find, the second therblig. Third comes select, the process of sliding the razor prior to the fourth therblig, grasp. Fifth is transport loaded, bringing the razor up to the face, and 6 is position, getting the razor set on the face. There are 11 other therbligs. The last one is think. When Dad made a motion study, he broke down each operation into therblig and then tried to reduce the time taken to perform each therblig. Perhaps certain parts to be assembled could be painted red and others green, so as to reduce the time required for search and find. Perhaps the parts could be moved closer to the object being assembled, so as to reduce the time required for transport loaded. Every therblig had its own symbol, and once they were painted on the wall, Dad had us applying them to our household chores: bed making, dishwashing, sweeping, dusting. Meanwhile, the shoe and the lighthouses had become a stop of some of the Nantucket sightseeing tours. The stop didn't entail getting out of the carriages or later the buses, but we'd hear the drivers giving the lurid and inaccurate accounts of the history of the place and the family which inhabited it. Some individuals occasionally would come up to the door and ask if they could peek in, and if the house was presentable, we'd usually show them around. Then, unexpectedly, the names of strangers started appearing in a guest book which we kept in the front room. "Are these friends of yours?" Dad asked Mother. "I never heard of them before. Maybe they're friends of the children." When we said we didn't know them, Dad questioned Tom Greaves, who admitted readily enough that he'd been showing tourists through the house and the lighthouses when we were at the beach. Tom's tour included the dormitories, Mother and Dad's room where the babies stayed, and even the lavatory where he pointed out the code alphabet. Some of the visitors, seeing the guest book on the table, thought they were supposed to sign. Tom stood at the front door as the tourists filed out and frequently collected tips. Mother was irked. "I never heard of such a thing in all my born day. Imagine taking perfect strangers through our bedrooms and the house a wreck, most likely." "Well," said Dad, who was convinced the tourists had come to see his visual education methods, "there's no need for us to be selfish about the ideas that we've developed. Maybe it's not a bad plan to let the public see what we're doing." He leaned back reflectively in his chair, an old mahogany pew from some church. Dad had found the pew disassembled in the basement of our cottage. He'd resurrected it, reverently rubbed it down, put it together, and varnished it. The pew was his seat of authority in the shoe, and the only chair which fitted him comfortably and in which he could place complete confidence. "I wonder how much money Tom took in," he said to Mother. "Maybe we could work out some sort of an arrangement so that Tom could split tips for future admissions." "The very idea," said Mother. "There'll be no further discussion. The very idea." "Can't you take a joke? I was only joking. Where's your sense of humor?" "I know," and Mother nodded her head. "I'm not supposed to have any. But did you ever stop to think there might be some women somewhere who might think their husbands were joking if they said they had bought 2 lighthouses and—" Dad started to laugh, and he rocked back and forth. He shook the house so that the loose whitewash flaked off the ceiling and landed on top of his head. When Dad laughed, everybody laughed. You couldn't help it. And Mother, after a long battle to remain severe, joined in. "By jingo," he wheezed, "I guess there are some women somewhere who wouldn't want the Morse code and planets and even theirbligs painted on the walls of their house either. Come on over here, boss, and let me take back everything I ever said about your sense of humor. Mother walked over, brushed the whitewash out of what was left of his hair. So I think she forgave him. Now the next one is called The Rena, R-E-N-A, and it's italicized, so I'm pretty sure it's the name of something. What do you think it could be a name of? It could be the name of a boat that they could have. They already named their house the Shoe, and they've already named their car. Maybe a bicycle. Maybe a trampoline. Who knows? Well, we'll see the next time. Bye-bye.